Welcome into Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson, in for Dave Bacon. Now, I'll be honest with you folks. We had plenty to talk about, obviously, the Baker Mayfield trade request as of yesterday, but just about 15 minutes ago, we pretty much had a complete bombshell of a news story come out where the Cleveland Browns have been announced as the trade destination for Pro Bowl quarterback and All-Pro quarterback Deshaun Watson, who obviously has been dealing with the off-the-field situations regarding his civil suits as well. But the full deals or the full details of the trade are unraveling as we go, so we'll keep you updated on the latest here. But it seems like it's going to be at least 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson going to Houston, as well as as well as 2 additional draft selections on day 2 or day 3. We're not sure quite yet, but on top of that as well, you have the massive contract that will be handed to Watson, which is 5 years, $230 million going to Deshaun Watson. That is $80 million more for fully guaranteed at signing. $150, yes, you read that right, $150 million going to Watson to secure this deal for the Cleveland Browns. Now, mind you, Cleveland Browns, as of yesterday morning, were told that they were not going to be the landing spot for Deshaun Watson. But according to James Palmer and Mike Garafolo of NFL Network, they also were saying that late in the process, the Falcons thought that they were close, but Watson and his representatives were asking for more monetary compensation in this as well. The Panthers resisted monetary requests. That's why they were eliminated last night. Browns have been more than willing to go ahead and adjust to that as well. And it seems like it will be 3 first-round picks, like I said, and 2 additional draft selections as well. Could be day 2, could be day 3. We're still getting these details as they come along. Again, this came out just a few minutes ago for us here as well. Now, in Watson's last season as a starter in 2020, he had a 4-12 record. That's the first year without DeAndre Hopkins after being traded to Arizona. But he had 4,823 passing yards. He had 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. And for Deshaun Watson, he is just 26 years old. Will turn 27 in September as well. So again, the big breaking news, Deshaun Watson coming to the Cleveland Browns, changing direction. And it seemed like the national reports were saying that the Cleveland Browns were going to be eliminated. That was confirmed as of yesterday by Adam Schefter, as well as multiple other reports as well. And, you know, as this unravels, just a massive storyline. And on top of that, the trade request from Baker Mayfield, which initially, as of yesterday, was not going to be honored by the Cleveland Browns, will be honored now that Deshaun Watson is coming into the fold. A couple of teams that you can keep an eye out for. Obviously, you have the Indianapolis Colts, who, you know, there was some interest when it came to Matt Ryan possibly going there, but with Deshaun Watson coming to Cleveland, now it seems like they're going to be probably holding on to him, at least based on that as well. But the other side of this as well now, Baker Mayfield could be going to the Indianapolis Colts. Another team to keep an eye on, and this from Josina Anderson earlier today. She had mentioned that the Seattle Seahawks are looking to, or are preferred to add a experienced veteran starting quarterback. They've gone and made calls to the Atlanta Falcons about Matt Ryan. Again, doesn't seem like he's going to be on the table. As well as the Cleveland Browns potentially on Baker Mayfield. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this as well is that former Browns executive Alonzo Highsmith, who was in the front office with John Dorsey, he also is in the front office for Seattle. He was a big fan of Baker Mayfield coming out in that draft class where the Cleveland Browns selected him #1 overall. So that could be a possible trade destination. And one part of this as well is that if they go ahead and get that deal done with Seattle, that also could lessen what the Browns have already given up for a Deshaun Watson, so it makes that trade a little bit more digestible. But again, loaded show for you. Obviously, the big bombshell of news of Deshaun Watson coming to Cleveland. We'll be talking about that with Hayden Grove of cleveland.com here soon, as well as Casey Kinnamon of Dog Pound Daily joining me a little bit later on in the show. Again, just massive bombshell coming out. And the other part of this that I will say too is that I think that overall, when it comes to this decision from Deshaun Watson, I think that this move not only signals that, you know, this is going to be coming down and obviously you know, I think that you already have this done. You already have traded for Amari Cooper, but with big names like Tyrann Mathieu still on the open market, also another name is Zadarius Smith, who previously it was reported that he was agreed to a deal with the Baltimore Ravens. That deal fell through. He's a free agent once again. Cleveland Browns, they could be looking at adding an edge. Obviously, Jadeveon Clowney is a free agent. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. But this could also open up a bunch of different opportunities for the Cleveland Browns as well. So, again, just a ton of information here coming in. Charles Robinson mentioning there as well the 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, including 2 additional picks that will be going to the Houston Texans. Just a massive price, again, for somebody who, Deshaun Watson, 26 years old, going to be turning 27 in September. Just a massive bombshell of a deal. So, again, Deshaun Watson coming into Cleveland. You also have, again, just a few big trades at this point. Now, the biggest part of this, again, Deshaun Watson now in the youth movement of the AFC North as well. You have Deshaun Watson, 26 years old, going to be turning 27. You also have Joe Burrow. And now this also turns the view over to the Baltimore Ravens, because now you have Lamar Jackson there as well. Obviously, he's representing himself, but you also have the extension talks over there, where he seems to be okay with letting this play out at this point. And once that happens, all of a sudden now you're looking at a difference in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens dealing with stiff competition, and now with the Cleveland Browns adding Deshaun Watson, I think now you're looking at a loaded AFC getting even stronger. Deshaun Watson obviously sitting out last year, and it's also worth noting that, again, he still has those 22 civil suits ongoing, and that's something that you're going to have to keep an eye out for. And, of course, we will here on Sports4CLE. And, again, I think that part of this as well when it comes to Deshaun Watson, and as this kind of rolls in, we're keeping you updated here as well. But it's also worth noting that the Cleveland Browns in 2022 will be facing off against the Houston Texans, the Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons, and the New Orleans Saints throughout this season. So it's going to be Deshaun Watson facing off against those teams that he will be playing, or that were fighting to court his services for this season as well. But again, you know, just a massive news coming in today when it comes to Deshaun Watson. But we're keeping an eye out for any news, any details coming out here. But again, the big news, Deshaun Watson coming to Cleveland, signing a 5-year, $230 million contract to add about $12 million per season compared to what he was previously making under his previous contract with the Houston Texans. Again, I'm Mac Robinson. I'm in for Dave Bacon today. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we'll be talking with Hayden Grove, cleveland.com coming up, as well as Casey Kinnamon, breaking down the Deshaun Watson news, as well as all across the NFL, the big news of free agency right here on Sports4CLE.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for spring classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. Again, big news of the day. The Cleveland Browns have acquired, or will be acquiring, Deshaun Watson, star quarterback as well. And according to Adam Schefter, it seems that they are still finalizing the trade agreements here. But again, Deshaun Watson tweeting or putting on his Instagram as well that he is ready to come to Cleveland, has him already photoshopped in a Browns uniform as well. But according to Adam Schefter, says that the Browns and Texans are still finalizing official trade compensation for Deshaun Watson, but it is expected to be 3 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and potentially a 5th-round pick going over to the Houston Texans in exchange for Deshaun Watson. Now, in addition to that as well, again, the big news, in addition to trading those picks as well, they're going to be giving him a reworked deal. It is 5 years, $230 million going to Deshaun Watson in this deal. And again, that's going to be $150 million of that $230 is guaranteed. So $80 million higher than the previous guarantee. So again, just massive bombshell news. Again, as of yesterday morning, Cleveland Browns were out of it, according to multiple reports. But now Deshaun Watson not only says, Cleveland Browns, you're back in the race, you are it. According to his Instagram right there, saying that he's saying, let's go, and he's ready to work. So Cleveland Browns have their franchise quarterback in tow. And in addition to that, now that that is done, Andrew Berry can shift his focus over to potentially other moves going on. And this report earlier today came from Jordan Schultz on Twitter as well, saying that apparently the Cleveland Browns have offered free agent edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney a 2-year deal worth $24 million per source. Now, the 3-time Pro Bowler is total at least 9 sacks in 3 of his last 4 seasons, also with the Texans and the Seahawks. Good money for a good player, and that Cleveland is hoping for a decision soon. I just think that it's interesting that that comes down about 20 to 30 minutes before the Deshaun Watson news ends up coming out. So again, with his former teammate now in tow, could you see a decision from Jadeveon Clowney? Could you see him come back, maybe take a little bit less money than he was expecting to come back to Cleveland to play alongside him and potentially compete for a Super Bowl in a loaded AFC as well? But also earlier this morning, obviously we mentioned the fact that, Baker Mayfield previously we had talked about Baker Mayfield's previous trade request previously, but that seems like that's going to be going through. And to talk about the Deshaun Watson news, we are now joined by Hayden Grove of cleveland.com. And Hayden, I was expecting to talk about Baker Mayfield and all of this stuff going on, but clearly we had the bombshell news. So just, the one-word question for you, your thoughts.
Conflicted, very conflicted. I think that the Browns, I tweeted a lot of things and I got a lot of hate, and I'm getting a lot of hate now because I said the Browns front office was a quote-unquote disaster because they missed on Deshaun Watson and now they look dumb. Well, they didn't end up missing on Deshaun Watson, but how was I supposed to know they didn't miss on Deshaun Watson? Because they said they did. That being said, it brings back other concerns. So again, I guess it shows that the Browns have the ability to do this. It shows that the Browns have the ability and the respect of free agents and whatnot, and it shows the Browns had a plan, whatever. But is that all okay because Deshaun Watson came to Cleveland? Deshaun Watson, again, there is still plenty of morally reprehensible allegations against him. Plenty of morally reprehensible allegations against him. Again, I don't care about the court of law. All I care about is that were all those 22 women lying? No. So now the Haslams have a ton of questions to answer. The Browns have a ton of questions to answer. It's going to be one of the biggest press conferences in the history of this city, because again, it's like unlike anything we've ever seen. And again, it's almost like only in Cleveland, because we should be celebrating this. The Browns make the huge move for a top 5 franchise-changing quarterback, the first ever quarterback to really want to come to Cleveland and sign a deal and be the elite guy. And it's almost kind of like a LeBron James moment, but Cleveland actually can't enjoy it because all of the off the field stuff. And it is legitimate off the field stuff. You have to think about it. You can't throw it away. So again, it's a very conflicting moment if you're a fan of the Browns or if you're a reporter or whatever you feel. It's a very conflicting moment.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that as well. I talked about it on The Fan on Friday night as well. But, for me, it was a situation where, looking at it from like you said, it's a messy situation and there's no way around it. It's a conversation that it's uncomfortable to have, but it's one that we have to have. And especially now that this trade's been done, it's something that you really have to take this head on. And like you said, that press conference, that's going to be massive. And I'm interested to see, does Haslam come out? Is he going to be up there on the stage as well, along with Andrew Berry and company? Because, again, I think that you have to have these, and you have to have these questions answered.
On that podium, I want Jimmy Haslam, I want D. Haslam, I want J.W. Johnson, I want Andrew Berry, I want Kevin Stefanski, I want Paul DePodesta, and I want Deshaun Watson. I want all of them. I want every single person answering questions, because they all have questions. They all have answers, or they all have things that need to be said. There are questions that need to be answered. The questions are going to be asked. I don't think Cleveland is going to shy away from any of that. I certainly will not. I know my colleagues will not. We're not going to shy away from the questions because they have to be answered. Cleveland has a very, very, very strong contingent of female reporters. Mary Kay Cabot, Marla Ridenour, Cameron Justice. The list goes on, right? Very strong contingent of female reporters. And I want them to be the ones that ask the questions, and I will support them in doing so. And Dee Haslam needs to be up there front and center answering these questions, because as a woman especially, who's supposed to be, quote unquote, standing up for women, standing up for feminism, the Browns are an organization that stands up for women's rights, stands up for, you have Callie Brownson. I would love to see Callie Brownson on the podium. The Browns are an organization that is giving these women all these opportunities, and then you go and sign a guy who, again, while not proven in the court of law, that's fine. That's the reason he's able to be signed. But you're signing a guy that has 22 counts of sexual allegations against him, and they're now currently civil suits. Again, I'm sorry. I will never believe that 22 women are completely lying. I will never believe it. So they have to answer questions, period end.
Yeah. And honestly, the other part of it too, and this is why, I've been conflicted about this, at least from that conversation, because again, regardless of the criminal side of it, again, when you're talking about 22 civil suits, and not only that too, but also the fact that, you had 22 women that were saying that he didn't, but also you had 20 women that were saying that 20 women that were saying that he didn't do it, 22 women that were saying that he did do it. That's enough masseuses to where I think that's a red flag in general. I think that at that point, again, you'd think that somebody would feel comfortable enough with having just, one that understands what you like. But again, the fact that you're looking at 22 women, again, for the civil suits, that's something that you have to keep in mind when it comes to this entire thing. And really, it's a delicate situation that we have to have this conversation. And really a shame that, like you said, we should be celebrating the fact that the Cleveland Browns just got their franchise quarterback in his mid-20s for his prime, and he's coming to Cleveland. He's excited to be here, signing a massive deal. And at the same time, we have to have this conversation as well.
We do. We absolutely do. And again, Deshaun tweeted that the proof is going to come out, whatever. The only people that know what happened, the only people that knew what happened were Deshaun, these women, and God, right? Nobody else is in the room. Nobody else, again, Deshaun can say what he wants. Those are the only people that know. I am all for forgiveness, right? I'm a Catholic. I'm a believer in that. And you don't have to be, that's fine. But I'm a believer in that. I'm a believer in forgiveness. I'm a believer in grace. But again, you gotta really, 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 really have it together. He can't make one misstep. Because what happens then, Mac? What happens then if he makes one mistake? His whole career could be over. And all that money, all that stuff, all that nonsense, all that you went through to get Deshaun Watson to be your quarterback, all of a sudden that's gone. That's gone. So he is on the thinnest of thin ice to begin with, and he's got to start making reparations today. Today. I mean, again, it's never going to repair what he's done to these women, and that's the unfortunate truth of this. That trauma has already been caused. That's why I would not want that. That's why I did not want him to go out. Again, I believe in forgiveness, but that trauma that he's already caused these women is already there. He's already done this. It's hard to put that back in the bag. It's hard to put the juice back in the box. It's tough.
Yeah, and it really is. So Hayden Grove and we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to be breaking this down from the football side of things as well. When it comes to Deshaun Watson, again, the big news, Deshaun Watson coming to Cleveland in a trade from the Houston Texans as well. Matt Robinson in for Dave Bacon. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to try-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for spring classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. Now let's head out to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, where Ron Byer goes ahead and calls in, and he's a little bit sick and tired of the soap opera.
Yesterday was unbelievable for Browns fans. Right out front, I do not put up with soap operas and drama. And again, just like the Cleveland Browns, it turned into it again. I've always said, think before you speak, because it might destroy everything people think about someone. And that's what happened yesterday with Baker Mayfield. And Browns management are no angels either. Thank goodness we have Nick Chubb. He helps me keep my love and sanity for Browns football. Chubb is old school, takes the ball, does his job, lines up and does it again. How can we duplicate more players just like him to finally have a drama-free team all fighting for one goal, a Super Bowl championship?
Well, I mean, with Ron's point there being the fact that, the Browns trying to be drama-free, again, go ahead and trade for Deshaun Watson, the big news of the day. In order to talk about this as well, we bring in Hayden Grove of cleveland.com. Now, Hayden, when it comes to the overall fit with all of this, how do you think that, at least the locker room and some of these players will take to having Deshaun Watson joining this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a conflicting thing, and I'm sorry I'm moving around. I'm trying to get the lighting better where I am.
No, you're good, man.
It's such a conflicting thing. I don't know. Again, I don't know how. I think every situation is going to react differently. I think every person is going to react differently. I think every player is going to react differently. There are going to be people in that locker room that he's got to earn trust back. There's no doubt about that. He's got to earn trust. He's got to earn respect 100%. But there are people in that locker room that might never give him that respect, given that what he's done. So I don't know. I think it's on an individual basis. It's so conflicting. It's so conflicting because the only way that we're going to feel good about this is if Deshaun Watson somehow comes out that every one of these women is lying and that Deshaun has been completely exonerated and he was completely consensual in all this. And I don't think that will ever happen. So even if the Browns do win a Super Bowl with Deshaun Watson, I mean, it's always going to have a little stain next to it, isn't it? I mean, not for better or for worse, just it's always going to have that little stain. So I don't know. I don't know what the team is going to feel about it. I don't know how individuals are going to react to it. It's just a very, very conflicting thing. Very conflicting.
Now, Pro Football Focus put this article up this morning, and they were talking about the Browns' biggest needs at the beginning of free agency versus where they're at currently. Now, originally, obviously, they had wide receiver, but after adding Amari Cooper and Jakeem Grant, at least gives them options at the wide receiver position. Could add more here via free agency as well, but they also add in that now it's nose tackle. Now, they don't foresee that Andrew Berry is going to go that early on, but could add somebody in later on in the draft. Now, Hayden, my question for you here is that because I feel like nose tackle in particular, like I don't think that that's the big need. I think the big need is overall a defensive tackle, because you are the only two that you had on going into free agency was you had Tommy Togiai and you had Jordan Elliott, and you've only added Taven Bryant, who was a bit of a flameout when it came to Jacksonville. He ended up signing here as well for 1 year, $5 million max. But for you, would you rather go ahead and draft somebody at defensive tackle to address that need, or would you rather try to attack that via free agency, now that you have everything else going on with the team?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there are some good options out there. Fletcher Cox just got released. I think Eddie Goldman's still out there. There's still some very good options as defensive tackle. So I think that, if the Browns wanted to go for the defensive line at number 13, I'd be okay with that. I think now, however, now that their number 13 is gone, actually, sorry, I apologize. Keep forgetting that this trade happened. I think now you got to look at all options. Garrett Wilson's off the table. All these guys at number 13 are off the table. You can look at everything. Just look at best player available now. That's all I think that matters is look at best player available. Whenever that may be in the draft, just it is what it is. The draft is no longer an issue. The draft is not a thing in Cleveland anymore. It's no longer about the draft because you don't have picks anymore. You don't have that need to go, get guys to start right away. I think now it is about free agency. Now you are becoming the Los Angeles Rams. Now you do have to go over the big names, after the big time talents. You've got to try to be a free agent destination. And no matter your thoughts on Deshaun Watson, if you're going to go forward with him, you got to act like you're a Super Bowl contender. You got to go act like you're going to win the whole thing. So I think that absolutely you got to just go for it. Be it that in free agency, be that in trades. We're not worried about the draft. The draft in Cleveland is over. It's done. For the next probably for the next 10 years if Deshaun Watson stays here. The draft in Cleveland no longer matters. It's not a thing anymore. So move on, move past it, and maybe the Browns will find a way to, become that Super Bowl contender and get those big pieces through the draft, through free agency, through trades that they need to supplement this team.
Well, and hey, I'm just glad that we got the draft in Cleveland last year while it still was important here at this point. So, the other side of this too is
That's
that.
True.
When it comes to the Rams approach, obviously you're adding a lot of star-studded players. You're looking for those big names. And, one caller on the voicemail of Truth and Reason had this name that he found interesting for the Cleveland Browns to go after.
Do you think the Browns would have any interest in Bobby Wagner? I think he'd be a nice leader of that defense. Thank you for taking my call.
And thank you for the voicemail. Hayden, when it comes to Bobby Wagner, do you think that he would be a good addition for this team? And do you think that he would come to Cleveland now that, everything is in tow?
Right now, everything's on the table. Everyone is on the table. Everything is on the table. Every free agent's on the table because I think they'd be willing to pay a little less, or, some would be willing to take a little less to come to Cleveland. Every trade target is on the table. Everything's on the table. Bobby Wagner's an option. I think if this would have happened, Von Miller might have changed his mind, and maybe not, because Buffalo is still a contender regardless. But I think that there's, everybody that is available is now an option for the Cleveland Browns because you're looking at this as a win now thing. You're looking at this as both short and long term. You got to sign guys that are going to get you that Super Bowl level. I mean, you literally sold your soul for a Super Bowl, so you got to go get it. You got to go get it. The only thing I think that would be worse, than selling your soul for a Super Bowl and not get, or the only thing worse than selling your soul for a Super Bowl is selling your soul for a Super Bowl and coming up short. So they sold their soul for a Super Bowl, and you can't come up short. Period. End.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. But Hayden and I are going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to be looking at one of the best moves of free agency up until obviously this past move. But we're going to be looking at that and also who else could be on the table for the Cleveland Browns going forward. Mac Robinson in for Dave Bacon here on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and so is the job market. Be ready with the training you'll need to get a great job. If you or your family has experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Whether you want to improve your skills, get certified, or train for a new career, go to try-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. Register now for online and on-campus classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. Again, big news today for the Cleveland Browns, as around 3:45 today, we had the news of Deshaun Watson changing his mind on the Cleveland Browns, and initially yesterday morning saying that he would not be coming to Cleveland. Now changes his mind. He is ready to come to Cleveland, as the big deal coming down, at least 3 first-round picks, 2 additional picks going from the Cleveland Browns over to the Houston Texans, along with a massive deal for Deshaun Watson as well. But to go ahead and break this all down, as well as what could come next, we have Hayden Grove of cleveland.com. Now, Hayden, you know, the other side of this is the AFC's been getting loaded up all offseason. Obviously, you saw the Russell Wilson trade that started on Tuesday, which feels like 3 months ago at this point. He gets traded to Denver. You have the Khalil Mack move, as well as other massive trades. Devontae Adams last night as well. And Brandon Beane was talking earlier to reporters, and he was asked about the talent in the AFC, and he said, quote, "I'm voting for realignment." So when it comes to the AFC as a whole, just the talent level seems to be stacked. So now with this move in tow, where do you think the Browns kind of stack up when it comes to the AFC?
I don't know yet. They're incomplete.
Yeah.
I think this is a situation where they still have a lot to add. They have a lot of pass catchers to add. Obviously, Austin Hooper is no longer part of that tight end crew. They need another tight end. They need another wide receiver or two. I don't think Amari Cooper and Jakeem Grant is good enough. I don't think maybe even DPJ is good enough to be their third. So they have some options they need to take. They need absolutely to add. So it's incomplete. I think they definitely have a great run game. Deshaun Watson definitely is a great passer, and their passing game is going to be great. But I don't know where they stacked up yet. They're not finished. They still have a ton of holes they have to fill in the offensive line, or excuse me, on the offense as a whole, not on the offensive line. And we'll see how it goes from there.
Now, another thing, and you mentioned Austin Hooper. He actually, right after the Deshaun Watson deal came down, it was announced that he was agreeing to a deal with the Titans, so he's going to be going there 1 year, $6 million. But the other part of this as well, there was a report that came out about an hour ago at this point. Jordan Schultz had reported that apparently the Browns had offered a 2-year, $24 million deal over to Jadeveon Clowney to possibly bring him back. How do you think that when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney, do you think that he's able to come back? And here's a report there from Jordan. But do you think that he will come back for that kind of a deal, and maybe even a little bit less, in order to make sure that they're able to kind of fit underneath the cap when it comes to, now that they have Watson in tow, as well as possible other free agents?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think that he would be able to come back. He wants to play for a contender. He's played in Cleveland. Cleveland's going to try to pay him. I think that that's a good deal for him financially. It's, it gives him some flexibility too. He's getting up there. It's a good deal for the Browns. So yeah, if I think not even Deshaun, I think Jadeveon, I think that's a good deal for him. And I think the Browns are absolutely, like I said, every free agent's on the table. Every player is on the table now. There was a time where I was thinking, well, Deshaun doesn't want to play in Cleveland. Baker doesn't want to play in Cleveland. Russell Wilson doesn't want to play in Cleveland. And all of a sudden that narrative has shifted. And I didn't know a day or two ago. How could I know that was the case? Deshaun flipped his mind. Changed his mind, and the perception of the Browns completely changed in one drop of a hat. And in some cases, in a good way, in some cases, in a bad way. In some cases, it's in a good way where, Deshaun Watson come to Cleveland. Now I've seen Antonio Brown tweeting about how he wants to be a Cleveland Brown. I've seen about, how, all these guys are talking about good about Cleveland now. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that are women that are like, man, or not even women, that are just sympathetic towards the situation and understanding the situation. Say, how can we celebrate this? How can we approve of this? Again, he did heinous sexual acts towards women, and we're just going to ignore that so we can put a good on-field product on the football field. It's just a very, 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 very sticky situation.
No, and I hear that as well. But the one thing that I want to ask you as well is that with this move coming down now, obviously it seemed like the sentiment, at least from a good amount of people that I at least seen on Twitter as well, was that, same old Browns, same dysfunctional and everything like that, is usually tossed out there. But with this move getting done and the way that they were able to, stay the course, stay being aggressive when it came to getting this move done, do you still look at that when it comes to the front office in that sense of, again, same old Browns, same dysfunctional type of thing, given the fact that they were able to get this deal done at this point?
Well, it's yes and no. Again, the Browns did a good job of acquiring their asset that they wanted. I just don't think it's the right asset. Yes, on the field it's a good asset, but then at the same time, it's like I said, it's so conflicting because again, the Browns, if you look at it on paper, the Browns acquired the best quarterback possible for this football team, and that's a good thing. And they went after him. That's great. And Jimmy Haslam deserves some credit. J.W. Johnson deserves some credit. Andrew Berry deserves some credit. Kevin Stefanski deserves some credit. D. Haslam deserves some credit. And Paul DePodesta deserves some credit. At the same time, all 6 of those people said, we're okay with the guy who's, had 22 sexual assault allegations and and is probably going to alienate a good portion of our fan base. All 6 of them said, we're good with this. We're going to go forward with it. It's like they won and they lost at the same time. It's such a weird dichotomy to go to feel. So some people are going to say, it's the same old Browns because even when they get it right, they can't get it right. Others would say, oh, man, they got it right for the first time ever. So it's not the same old Browns. It's very, very, very difficult.
All right, Hayden, thank you so much for coming on with me. I know it's a lot going on, so thank you so much for taking out the time, my friend. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Hayden Grove from cleveland.com. Special thanks to him for joining me. Coming up next, we're going to be joined by Casey Kinnamon of Dog Pound Daily. He'll be talking the Deshaun Watson news. Again, Deshaun Watson is now a Cleveland Brown. Mac Robinson on Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Life is getting back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tri-c.edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for spring classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Welcome back to Sports for CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. Again, big news of the day. Deshaun Watson, now a Cleveland Brown. And now we had the details of that trade courtesy of Albert Breer, where we have the Cleveland Browns trading for Deshaun Watson, as well as a 2024 fourth-round draft pick as well. And so for him, they're going to be getting that, as well as they're going to be getting Deshaun Watson, 2024 fifth, excuse me. The Texans will be getting the 2022 first-round pick, 2023 first-round pick, 2023 third-round pick, as well as the 2024 first and fourth-round draft pick from the Cleveland Browns. So, in order to talk about this and the breaking news, obviously, here coming in, we're going to be joined by Casey Kinnamon. And Casey, I mean, just your initial reaction when the trade came down and the fact that Deshaun Watson changed his mind and is now coming in the shores of Lake Erie.
Disbelief. You know, I couldn't believe it. My phone just started going off. And, I mean, I'm conflicted, as most people who follow this team are. But just from an on-field perspective, you got a quarterback now who automatically makes you a Super Bowl contender. And you did it without giving up any players. To me, that's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and I feel the same way as well. And the other big part of this as well is the fact that the only pick that they gave up in 2022 was that number 13 overall first-round pick. They still kept number 44 in the second round. They kept both of their third rounders, and as well, they're keeping both of their sixth rounders as well in their late picks. But, you know, again, just a massive haul when it comes to this team. And, you know, you already have some star players that are looking to possibly come to Cleveland, and one with the off-the-field issues as well is Antonio Brown, who also went ahead and threw out on Twitter that, you know, he's interested in coming to Cleveland with the Cleveland Antonio Browns, throwing that up on his Twitter account as well. And so when it comes down to it, you know, what doors do you think this opens up from a football standpoint for Andrew Berry when it comes to signing some of these players? And here's a tweet from Antonio Brown himself. Again, Cleveland Antonio Browns, CAB.
Well, I would start off by saying I would pass on Antonio Brown, but it's going to make this a destination. It's going to make this a much easier sell for Andrew Berry, you know, to get offensive weapons in the building and even defensive players. You know, I know there's going to be a stigma attached with this, and it's going to carry him for perhaps his entire career, or if not his entire life. But as far as like on the field, players are going to want to come to Cleveland. This is going to be a destination. And that just sounds weird to say out loud, to be honest.
I know. It's a weird it's a weird space that we're in right now. Again, obviously, yes, like you mentioned, you know, it's going to be something that follows him, and it's a conversation that we have to have as well. But, you know, sticking with the on the field side of this as well, you know, the Browns have already made a massive move already going into this when it came to, you know, the Amari Cooper trade. And, you know, Pro Football Focus had their top 10 signings of the free agent period so far. Obviously, they had it before this, but Cleveland Browns sitting at number 7, trading for Amari Cooper. Now, while Cooper is still has the 3 years of his remaining deal, Browns have no guaranteed money on the books for wide receiver, so this move doesn't really carry much risk. So when it comes down to it, now that you have Amari Cooper here with Deshaun Watson, what are you kind of expecting out of that tandem on offense for Kevin Stefanski, who, again, really to this point hasn't shown that much, or really hasn't divulged as much in the passing game with his offense?
Well, I think that all has to change now. I mean, you have a playmaker like Watson, and you have a guy on the outside like Cooper who can make things happen. And, you know, he's a solid receiver. I don't know if I'd call him a premier number one, but he can act in that number one role. You have a guy that can fill that and can allow someone like DPJ to flourish. And I think we're going to expect way more chunk plays this year than we've had over the past few years. And it just opens everything up. I mean, everything. They're not going to be able to stack the box now. So look how this helps the running game. Like, from a football perspective, this opens up every door.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, that I'm curious how you feel about it as well. I know, look, I'm not a fan of the Antonio Brown. I'm just joking about that. But, you know, when it comes to that position as well, you know, my thought process going into free agency was, hey, add 2 in free agency, add 2 in the draft, completely overhaul it. Hell, even add a tight end in free agency and a tight end in the draft as well. So for you, do you think that them adding another wide receiver, at least in free agency, you think that's the way that they should go ahead and attack this at this point?
I mean, you definitely could. when I look at the people that are available in free agency, there's some intriguing offers out there. Some guys you could really go after and bolster this room. But I think they might even go to another trade scenario. You look at someone like Tyler Lockett in Seattle. I think that becomes a viable option now, especially if they're to try to move Baker. And if that becomes a possible trade partner, that'd be someone I'd be very interested in bringing into the fold.
And I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because again, earlier today, Josina Anderson had mentioned the fact that, the Seahawks could be looking at a more experienced quarterback. Obviously, they traded for Drew Lock in that Russell Wilson deal, but they have already made calls out to Atlanta about Matt Ryan. Obviously, it seems like that's going to be up in the air given the Deshaun Watson situation. But Cleveland with Baker Mayfield, who is now available, as well as others per her sources from the league. Now, when it comes to Baker Mayfield in this trade, obviously they didn't give up any picks this season. So if they're able to trade Baker Mayfield to get assets both this year and next, that also lowers that cost that you just gave up for Watson as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely does. And like I said, I cannot believe we didn't give up any players to get Watson. It just frees everything up. And they have to move Baker now. And that all, you're going to get assets from that. Now, what kind of trade packages will be available for Mayfield? I have no idea. But they're working the phones right now trying to figure that out. And if you can bring some experienced players who are ready to win right now, and with that, that's perfect. Or if it comes with maybe a second-round pick or some conditionals, I think that everything's open. Everything's on the table right now. And with where the Browns are today, as of an hour ago, man, the possibilities are endless now.
Right. And the other side of that, too, when it comes to that Baker trade market as well, the one thing to also look at, I mentioned this earlier in the show as well, but, you have Alonzo Highsmith, who is in that Seattle Seahawks front office. So you have somebody who is there in that pre-draft process, and you have that perfect combination for a bidding war because you also have a team in, the Indianapolis Colts who are pretty much trying to find a dance partner at this point. They haven't found anybody. And so they might just be desperate enough to overpay for a quarterback like a Baker Mayfield, who, again, is on the younger side, obviously 26 years old. So it feels like that's kind of that perfect combination where Browns might be able to get more than fans expect for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, there's even a possibility, the Colts don't have a number one pick this year, but they do next year, and that might be something they'd be willing to part with to get Mayfield in the building. A conditional one if he takes so many snaps or plays a certain percentage of the plays. So that's something that you definitely have to explore. And quarterback is such, there's definitely, it's a needy position. Teams need it. And right now you have one more than you need. So you need to capitalize on that while you can, because the quarterback market, it's always nutty. So get what you can get. And, I wish Mayfield well. I wanted it to work, but obviously after what transpired over the last few days and then the trade today, it's a foregone conclusion. He's gone. So get what you can get and build this team to win right now.
Well, we also had a caller go ahead and, want to bring up the possibility of Baker Mayfield when it came down to this as well. So we'll go ahead and go to that as well.
I'm sitting here watching your show, and I agree with most that's being said. I really think that last year, after the Detroit game, the way Baker acted is when the leadership finally soured and turned on him. That's just my opinion. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Now, Casey, obviously we've heard about, what Baker was told, what Baker wasn't told, but when it comes down to this team, it just never felt like they were fully committed when it came to Baker Mayfield, going back to even last year following the playoff win.
Yeah, they kept 1 foot in and 1 foot out with him, who knows if he didn't turn it on at the end of 2020, maybe they would have decided to move on then, but he gave them enough hope that they kind of had to see if he could give them more. And then unfortunately he gets injured, and what transpired over 2021 did. And, there was no real way that you could justify signing him long-term at that point. And I was under the understanding, as most people were, that they were going to let him get healthy and try to run it back with more talent surrounding him. But then things just soured. And like you said, the Detroit game in particular, like that just shows, him skipping the post-game presser. I mean, he was frustrated. He was 15 for 29 with 176 yards and a touchdown and 2 picks. And he was frustrated, so he skipped the post-game presser. But that just shows a lack of maturity and leadership, and then that doesn't help your case at all when you're looking to cash in big as a franchise quarterback. And I mean, there were several examples just like that along the way that kind of led us to the path that we were on.
Now, Casey and I are going to take a timeout. When we come back, going to be looking at the potential additions for the Cleveland Browns now that Deshaun Watson is in the fold. Again, Mac Robinson in on Sports4CLE. Stay with me.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. We've been covering this all along. Deshaun Watson, the big move from Houston to the Cleveland Browns, waiving his no-trade clause, clearing the way for him to come to Cleveland. Again, 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick in 2023, and a fourth-round pick in 2024 as well. But in order to break this all down, we're joined by Casey Kinnamon of Dog Pound Daily. And Casey, the big news that we also saw yesterday was Allen Robinson signing, free agent wide receiver, signing with the LA Rams. And following that, Adam Schefter tweeted this out last night as well, that the prime trade candidate could be Robert Woods, who has a torn ACL from last year, but is expected to be ready by training camp. Now, we talked about potentially adding different players. How would you feel about Robert Woods, again, coming off of an injury? How do you think that he would fit in with the current crop of players, as well as Watson coming in for the Cleveland Browns?
I mean, absolutely. I think you have to keep him in consideration, but you also have to temper expectations. You know, he's going to be 30 in April, coming off ACL surgery. If I were to go that route, I'm looking at 2 players. One I already discussed in Tyler Lockett if I was going to trade, and another one would be Brandon Cooks. These guys are, have similar skill sets to Woods and are in comparable stages of their career, and they're not coming off season-ending injury. So to me, that's a big thing. Like if you're bringing a guy in, you want to be able to hit the ground running, especially with this offense set up to explode like it should. So I would consider Woods, but I keep.
And another name to also keep in mind, too, is from Houston, who initially started his career with Houston, played with Miami last year, Will Fuller. Again, longtime friend of Deshaun Watson as well there. But, when it comes down to these options, I think that the Browns, they have opportunities that are there. But, I know you mentioned the injuries when it came to Robert Woods. I know Fuller has had his injuries in the past. Are you concerned at all regarding that and his potential addition?
Will Fuller, yeah, I'm definitely concerned. He's only played in more than 11 games once since his rookie year, and this will be his 7th year in the league. He's an explosive player, and he definitely has a connection with Watson. So it's someone you have to consider. But that injury concern is very real with Will Fuller.
Casey Kinnamon, thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate the time. Again, with all of the news breaking down, I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Each week in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize role model students from all across Ohio. This week we head to Walsh Jesuit High School to meet Catherine Mullen. Catherine is a leader both in the classroom and in the community, and is a 2-sport captain for the Warriors. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is proud to salute Catherine Mullen, this week's Shining Star.
Keeping up with Walsh Jesuit senior Catherine Mullen can be a difficult task. She's involved in multiple community service programs, carries a strong GPA with a challenging academic load, and is the captain of the Warriors lacrosse and field hockey teams.
Definitely the communication between the coaches and the teammates, just kind of making sure we've got that chemistry between everyone. And then on the field, we will talk to the refs if there's anything that ever needs to be discussed, just so it's not everyone going around, just kind of organizing that. And so then for practices, we lead stretches or just getting everyone prepared, making sure everyone's healthy. So definitely the communication, I would say, is my main role.
For her to be selected is pretty impressive, and that just shows you what type of person she is, what type of leader she is, because people look up to her. And so when you have your younger kids, you usually vote for captains. the teams vote for the caps. So when you have your teammates vote for you each time, that tells you a lot about you as a person.
Lacrosse is a sport where scoring and possession are critical, and Catherine has her stick in the middle of the Warriors' offense.
I play attack, but I also take the draw. So like that's in the beginning of the game, kind of like a tip-off in basketball, or just like how decides who gets the ball. And attack, I'm offense. I've been varsity for lacrosse for 4 years.
Mullen takes her role as captain very seriously, trying to mesh the individuals into a cohesive unit.
Individuality comes from taking the draw, because it's kind of like the pressure's on you to get that. But at the same time, I have to trust my teammates to come in and help me, or just like talking. Communication is very key with the sport. Like it can't be 1 against 11 on the field, you know, so constantly I'm having to like take in who's around me and my surroundings, and trusting my teammates that they'll have my back and I'll have theirs.
In the classroom, no surprise, Catherine is achieving success as well. Next year, she has her sights set on studying business at The Ohio State University.
I liked the big campus. I checked out some of the smaller ones in Ohio, like Miami or Dayton, but I just liked the city feel and just like the competition. You know, the sports are great to watch, and I just felt like home there. I believe I have some good communication skills, so I think I'd want to go venture into something like that, like if it was with communications or just around that.
Definitely her work ethic. I mean, I see her in the classroom, and the way she works in the classroom, her curiosity and her desire to be the best she can be. And I see that in the athletic field as well. She strives to be the best she can be, and whatever, she wants to be successful. And not to be arrogant, but as a person, she wants to reach her highest potential. And that's something intrinsic in her.
Mullen is also very aware of her role in the community. She's involved in a number of community service programs, including volunteering at an assisted living facility and being part of Walsh Jesuit's Green Team that focuses on recycling.
The conservation of Earth, I think, today it's something very hands-on and beneficial that I could work on through school and just like be part of and know that I'm at least attempting to make a difference. Knowing like that I'm doing something hands-on is definitely like helpful to your mind, you know, like you feel good after it.
She has really taken it to heart, that she has a responsibility as a person living in the community, that she has a lot to give, and especially to those who are in need. You know, she volunteers at assisted living, and she's done that for 4 years. And part of the reason is when she latches onto something, she sees something that is important to her and that she can make a difference, she's not going to just go there once in a while. She's going to do it for her whole time, and she wants to be committed to something, and that's something she does. She commits herself to schoolwork, she commits herself to her athletics, and she commits herself to community service.
If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com, find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star.
Congratulations to Catherine and the rest of the Walsh Jesuit community for that as well. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us here in studio. Again, big news of Deshaun Watson coming to Cleveland. Special thanks to all of you for watching, and special thanks to everybody working in the back as well. I know this was a crazy day. And again, you guys can follow me on Twitter at MacRobinson95 and follow us on Twitter at Sports4CLE for all of the latest regarding this situation. Thank you all for tuning in. Catch you next time.